back to Happiness by Habit, the show where we explore how powerful daily habits, strategic thinking, and a little bit of courage can help you craft a life and career you truly love. Today, I am beyond excited to welcome a guest who isn't about fluff. He's all about real results. Darren is a top voice on LinkedIn, a powerhouse coach for consultants and entrepreneurs, and the creator of the C.L.O.S.E.D framework, an approach that is helping professionals not just to get likes, but actually win clients and build thriving business. Darren's no-nonsense, high-impact philosophy focuses on content that attracts and most importantly converts. He's passionate about helping you stop chasing vanity metrics and start building influence and income with real intention. Today, we're diving into how can master content strategy, social selling, and personal positioning without losing your sanity or your authenticity. Darren, welcome to Happiness by Habit.
Thank you so much, Savannah. Lovely to be here.
Wonderful. As we are recording this episode today, Darren is in Madrid. That's where you're based out of, right? I used to live in Madrid. We were just talking briefly about that. Tell us what brought you to Madrid and tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I've been here 12 years now. Jeez, is it that long? 12 years. So initially I was a high school teacher teaching English, literature, how creative to come and teach abroad, right? So I taught in a high school, in a British school there. To be honest with you, really got quite pissed off and disillusioned, to be honest, at just the level of unprofessionalism, the level of money grabbing, and I'm probably going to stop there before I become liable. It just got really frustrated that the customer, in this case, the kids and their futures, weren't really at the focus of what things were. It was money and profit. And I think it was something that really kind of set me off on a bit of an admission that, it's you can have all the money and all the profit in the world, but if you're not serving those that you're meant to serve as you should do, then what's the bloody point in it? I think it just blackens our souls to act that way. So I learned, I'm very heavily hearted, left teaching as a profession after almost a decade really teaching. I decided, I couldn't continue in it any longer. So I took my babies that I got through to their A-levels, made sure that they were able to get into university, and thought, I need to leave. So I started teaching ESL, English as a second language, but the passion wasn't there. It was nice going in and chatting about Real Madrid versus Barcelona, who's better every week. But after a while, it was just, it's not quite doing it for me. So I knew it, but then like so many of your listeners, Silvana, something forced me to actually make a change and take action. And this little thing happened around March 2020 called the pandemic. Don't know if you've heard of it. A few people.
I heard about it.
And it was a case of, I've lost 70% of my face-to-face classes.
Wow.
Which isn't good. They're not set up to be doing remote work, working through Zoom or anything. And then I got some classes back and they offered me to do them 60% lower than I was being paid before. So it became a real case of, I've got a degree in English literature, I've got a postgraduate in education, I've got 12 years teaching experience at this time, and I'm kind of being offered, no offense, but €10 an hour. And it's kind of like, something's just not equating here. So it was really that. I thought, well, I've been on Instagram for the last few years growing an English teaching channel. I know roughly social media. So I invested the last bit of money I had into learning about social selling. And well, here we are today.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love the story. Very nice. You are a great example of how many people reinvented themselves through the pandemic. And I love this story because you not only were successful, but you follow your purpose in life. So that's beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about that struggle. I mean, you built such a strong voice and presence on LinkedIn. Can you share a little bit about your journey? What inspired you to focus on helping coaches and consultants truly win on LinkedIn?
Yeah, just I think kind of similar to myself almost. I mean, I was a teacher, still am in many cases a teacher, and really I was quite fortunate by the time I had a couple of years to mess about on Instagram, kind of learn about basic video editing, basic image creation, basic virality, how to get followers. So I had a bit of an easy idea of how to do it, but I didn't know how to make money on it. And that was a big problem. Most coaches and consultants come with all this genius, all this expertise, all this real passion, and yet they're posting fucking Brené Brown quotes every day. And it's like, no, 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 no. When you're posting Brené Brown, she's the expert, you're not. So there's a lot of coaches, executive coaches, consultants that tend to do a lot of clapping at other people and yet won't truly say or what they feel themselves. So it's a case of having strategy. You know, it's with content, we go in seasons. There's going to be seasons that we want to grow. So if we're going to grow, we need top of funnel content that's quite accessible, it's quite broad. So I mean, for example, if you're a leadership coach, the obvious one there is, well, leadership, but on a broad level. You know, it's the idea that I don't know, a quote like the best bosses have the employees who remember them long after they left the job. That sort of stuff's really quite nice and it's kind of feel good. And the reason it does so well in social media in general is because it's so shareable. Especially on LinkedIn, people don't want to share the tips, the tricks, the hacks and things like that because that implies that they have a problem that needs solved. Now, whilst that is the case 9 times out of 10, to come out and to like or to comment, what if my boss sees it? What if my colleagues see it? So they don't. So what we want to do at the top of funnel is to create that really shareable, aspirational content that makes people look good for sharing it. You know, 5 traits of a super empathetic boss. Share. I'm going to share that because that implies I'm empathetic and I think this way. So social media really is a reflection upon how most users wish to be seen. So it's really important creators come and lean into that. And this is why in coaches, consultants, executive coaches, they tend to do so badly because they tend to focus on them. Only about them, Silvana. My latest episode of my podcast just dropped. Check out here. Why? I don't care who you are. I don't know you because all you do is talk about your podcast or your paid webinar that you're hosting. It's me, me, me. And it's honestly true that when it comes to content creation strategically, there's 3 levels to the funnel, but that top of funnel is really just looking to grow. It's not talking about problems because when problems are addressed, it's going to resonate less, so to speak, because people don't want to admit to it. So what we do is we have the broad top of funnel, which is that sort of the leadership stuff, for example, but then we can get into the more middle of funnel. And that middle of funnel is not talking about pain points, because again, people don't really have pain points. So we're talking about symptoms instead. Only about 3% of your audience, Silvana, are pain point aware and thinking, I need Silvana to solve my problem. Please, I need her now. 3 in 100 people are thinking that.
Let me just go back quickly about something you just say. People don't have pain points, but you mean they don't want to talk about it, but they do.
They don't have them. It's nonsense.
They don't have them.
It's construct.
Tell me about it. What do you mean by that? Because I think they do have pain points.
They don't.
Explain me.
They don't. They don't.
They don't. They just...
Not all of them do. There's this general advice by the gurus, write about pain points. And this is such bad advice because only a fraction have the pain points, right? Out of my 17, nearly 18,000 followers, not all of them are thinking, oh, God, I'm so bad at LinkedIn, I must grow. Some of them couldn't give a shit about LinkedIn.
They're not aware.
They're unaware, Savannah. They just don't have them. They're like me. They like me, the persona. They just like the way that I think and what I post about. They're interested in LinkedIn. They have a pain point, but they're interested. If they can learn something, brilliant. So going back, 3%, Silvana, of your listeners right now have an acute pain point they need solved that only really you, not even only you, that they need solved. They're pain point aware and they're looking for a solution. If they find that solution, they'll pay K, whatever it is to work with you, they'll pay that. Because you're the person who can solve it. 7% pain point aware. Now, this is approximately, but approximately 3 and approximately 7%, to your point, are pain point aware. God, I need to get better at LinkedIn. I keep on getting ghosted in the DMs. I don't really know what to post content-wise. I've got no strategy. I know I need to do something. The pain isn't great enough for you to go into your pocket, take out your credit card and pay me. I can, through content and a sales call, I can move you closer to that 3%. But that's the role of content. What does that leave though? 90% of people who either don't have a pain point or are not pain point aware. So what do we do instead? We talk to symptoms. So for example, your pain point, I talk a lot about DM strategy. It's the most important part of social media. You don't have a coherent, not you, Sylvana, sorry, somebody X
No, it's
out there.
okay.
You don't have a coherent DM strategy that is structured and customized to you that allows you to emotionally lead your prospect through your content, know how to then take them into the DMs, take them through a 3 or 4 stage depending mini funnel, and then get them onto a sale call to close. You don't have a coherent strategy that really in the DMs talks about having commonality, the symptom into the pain point, and then the pivot. Only then can you get onto the pain, onto the sales call. That's the pain point. 90% of people don't know that. If you, Sylvana, it's rubbish. Whenever you ask someone about how things are going, they're having a nice little chat, you ask them how things are in your speciality, and you get ghosted, don't you? Sucks, doesn't it? Everyone listening will go, yep, I get that. I've been in the DMs, I've spoken about work, and I've gotten ghosted. So that's the symptom. The symptom is getting ghosted. The pain point is not having a right strategy to get them through that and onto a call.
Fascinating. And let's talk about that because you are very big on what not to focus on. Flat likes and popularity. That's not gonna take us anywhere. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs get caught in that trap?
Dopamine. The whole way the social media, the social networks, the social network done, you don't get what you get. So there is a time in the growth season, there is a time to be likes and ideally shares, ideally saves, certainly comments, easy brainless stuff. There is a time to grow that we want that I've got no doubt about that. But the problem, Miss Sylvana, is that people look for this all the time. They don't have a season. It's like my partner's Colombian. She says there's no seasons in Colombia. It's just always the same weather. And that's the same for a lot of people on LinkedIn. They just post the same all the time, every month. There's no strategy behind it. And that's a problem of it. So what we want to do is that we want to be structured and focused in it. So the reason that most entrepreneurs get caught up in this is because they equate likes with popularity with potential clients. Well, don't focus on likes. Don't even focus on comments. Focus on the dollars in the Stripe account at the end of the month. Likes don't get you Stripe account things. So my best performing posts where I will almost always convert are my lowest of the week. Why? Because it's bottom of funnel. I'm saying sign up for this newsletter, sign up for this webinar, sign up for this, DM me this, DM me this word and I'll send you something that I then get into a call and I get looked to close. So I intentionally know I'm going to get the least amount of likes and engagement on a particular post. But that's why it's strategic. I know that's going to happen, so this is how I convert from it. Everybody will clap their hands, right? Not everyone will take out their credit card. I'm only here for one of it. I've got to be honest. And it's a mindset issue. Again, why does everyone look for the likes, Sylvana? Because everyone wants to be loved. And that's a natural human trait. And it's a beautiful thing. But if you want to be loved, go onto TikTok and do some dancing. You'll be loved there, I promise you. LinkedIn is for business. I unapologetically say to my clients, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to teach you how to make more money, have less work at home, and enjoy your lives better. I am here to help people grow their businesses and make money. I'm not here to make friends. And that's where people get it completely wrong. They spend so much time chatting to their LinkedIn besties every day, they miss so many opportunities that could actually be converting into clients. So having strategic alliances, yes, of course. You having podcast guests, it's a strategic alliance. Of course it is. We share audiences, we introduce one another, we look to cross-pollinate. Perfect. That's a beautiful thing. That's how this whole social selling works. But the idea that you're making friends out there, some of those people will become friends, so I talk as well. You should have a combination. There's two types of people in your funnel, two types of people in LinkedIn land, in your way of doing social. Number one, they're your prospects. That's where the money clearly comes. So you have to be finding, building trust, building rapport into the DMs, building content for them to come to you for, connecting, finding one different people's audiences. That's what you really want. But the second of this one is your influencers, your distributors, those who distribute your message. This can take a long time. I'll have Yasmin Illich. I'll have him come and comment on my post. I'll have Richard van der Blom, Richard Moore. I've taken years to build relationships with those people for them to come up and show up for me, and that's through regularly showing up for them. So there's just by virtue of that, I know I did a post a week ago about 30 comments a day being limited. I had Richard hop on in 5 minutes because I tagged him and I knew he would. He's a friend. And within that, Jasmine then came in. So with those two coming in, the post kind of went viral. Of course it would, because those people came in. So those are people I'll never ever sell to. They're direct competitors. But when there's 1.1 billion people on this platform, Silvana, there's no competitors. It's collaborators.
There's room
That's
for
the truth.
everybody.
Yeah.
I love it, Darren.
I
Really
talk a lot, by the way.
fascinating.
Please interrupt me. Please tell me to shut up.
Yeah,
Audience,
yeah.
if you've not turned off by now, you deserve some sort of prize from Silvana. I apologize.
No problem, Darren. Darren, let's talk about your C.L.O.S.E.D framework, which is a framework you created. Can you break it down for us and why each part is so critical for success?
Yeah, so the C.L.O.S.E.D framework is something that it came through a way. So again, full disclosure, people love frameworks. It's the strategies that I've used that I've brought into it, that I've thought, think of an acronym for it, think of something that will help people remember, think of something that will make sense. And that's all it is. So yeah, I'd like to talk about the importance of frameworks, I suppose, and then I'll go into mine. The reason is, I don't know, so on my DM, on my LinkedIn banner and on my headline as well, I've got ask about my C.L.O.S.E.D framework. That brings about 5 leads a week in. What's the C.L.O.S.E.D framework? Why does it work? Because there's two things at play here. Number one, I'm clearly the expert. If I'm just reposting people's stuff or talking nonsense, they're not going to pay attention. Simply by virtue of having a perceived framework shows that you're something different. Number two, it plays into the idea of curiosity. People become curious about what it stands for. Now, close is obviously associated with the concept of closing sales, but C.L.O.S.E, every word obviously pertaining to a different part of the strategy, it asks that question, what is? And the moment somebody says to me, what is, I know they're curious. They're not curious just because they're a curious person. They're curious because they think there might be something within that framework which might help them to solve that problem. So that job for me is to now diagnose what exactly that problem is and if I'm able to solve it. And if I can't, obviously, then I can't, and that's fine. But typically, the way that it works, I would hope that I would be. So the first part of it really is the first C of it, really in a general way, it's related to content. It's really creating content that attracts and repels. So again, going back to your question, Silvana, everyone seems to go for the likes. Yeah, because likes are easy. You can't work with everyone. I definitely can't work with anyone. Some people can't stand me. Can't stand the way I look, can't stand the way I talk. It's just me. And if that's a reason enough to not work with me, wasn't going to be a good in the first place. Let's be honest, right? So I'm very much aware of that we want to attract and repel. It doesn't have to be through your use of language. It can be through your values. For example, on the 8th of March every year, I lose the most followers in one day. All year. I can every single time. I talk about International Women's Day. Misogynistic men don't
I'm
like that.
afraid to ask why you say. What do you say that makes you lose followers?
Supporting is a disgrace that in the developed world that we are in 2025, the statistics we have, 42% of women earning less than men. How does that happen nowadays? So I'll take statistics, I'll go on UN research stuff, I'll take statistics to back up, because that's how you really shut up misogynists and racists and people like that, give them actual hard facts, and I'll go on, I'll talk about it. Or I'll do a talk about how, or a post about storytelling about my partner, for example, and just like gender discrimination she's faced and how as a man I never have to face that. Or a post about how 85% probably of my clients are women. 85% of my clients are women over the age of 40. If I had a magic formula, I would bottle it and sell it. I'd be a multi-millionaire, Silvana. But I would talk about them. And so I'll talk about the fact that as a man, the DMs for me are so easy because I just get in, I close, and I get people on calls. For my female clients, they have to deal with sexism, marriage proposals. So literally, a woman's workload is almost doubled because of the bullshit they have to go through by virtue of their gender. So I will make posts along that way. Now, it repels people. Again, Pride Day, I'll do some stuff about pride. Homophobes, racists, Misogynists, it clears them away. But that's good because the way that I am, the way that I speak, and the way that I celebrate in my group, it's not going to be good for them to be a part of that anyway. So it's a pre-qualification almost. So again, everything's very intentional. But attract and repel. Now, it might just be, for example, I would say things like saying just believe in yourself. Sorry, anyone who believes in it. What if you believe you're not good enough? What, I would just go around and just attack it. So just these things, this piecemeal things that we hear, I would just look to attack, and that's showing my values. I did one on the week about the working over the weekends. If you're a billboard and it said, if you're celebrating, I see it all the time and it just annoys me, so I just write about it. If you're celebrating Friday, so that idea, it's Friday, it's Friday. If you're celebrating Friday, you're not working hard enough as an entrepreneur. It pissed some
What?
people off. Yeah, and it's that. Well, but we need to recharge. We do need to look after our
Yeah.
mental health. We do need to see our friends and family. We do need some time to get creative. You're right. And I agree. But I purposely did it to be contrarian. It did really well.
Mm.
We've got people
Mm.
coming in and out. Some people going, absolutely 100% with you. Other people going like yourself, I don't know if I agree with that. And here's why. And that, in terms of a top of funnel piece of content, the algorithm loves
That
that.
works.
It's driving
Yes,
contrarian
absolutely.
perspectives. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people really focuses on LinkedIn, and some of them might feel overwhelmed because they might think it's too late to make it work. What is one myth about LinkedIn success you wish you could erase forever?
I forgot to go through the rest of my strategy, by the way. I've just thought of that. So creating content that attracts and repels, leveraging LinkedIn strategically, which we're talking about now, optimizing DM strategy, which I've hinted at already,
Mm-hmm.
sales, learning how to sell, and then evolving your expertise, showing how you're the expert creating content from an expert's perspective. So that's just what it was.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good summary.
The
How important is it to repel the wrong people just as much as it is to attract the right ones in your business? I think you do an amazing job in that, Darren. That comes naturally.
It's important. It is. I think it just makes it a lot easier, and it really makes those who are for you, Silvana, they become really strongly for you. They really love you, your message. Now it could be the polar opposite. Believe in yourself and very kind of what I would call fluffy content. There's a place for it. There's people who genuinely believe, and that helps them through so much, and that's absolutely fine as well. What I'm saying is, I don't really care what you stand for, as long as it's not racist, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic, etc. I don't care what you stand for. Just stand for something. But most coaches and consultants don't have a clue what they stand for. So the biggest myth for me personally is this idea that you just comment 50, 100 times a day and you're going to grow your business. It's absolute nonsense. You make friends, but going back to what I said earlier, we're not here to make friends, we're here to do business. So yes, strategic comments are fine. So I teach my clients 15, 15, 15. 15 comments a day, 15 to the right on the right people's posts, 15 DMs a day to the right people, and 15 DMs, 15 comments, and 15 new connections a day, again with the right people. That's just 45. But that amounts to, if you do that, it means you're speaking to 75 people a week, 300 a month. Out of 300
Definitely.
people,
That's
how
up.
many calls can you get booked?
Darren, you are living proof that consistent aligned action compounds over time. And this goes along with what you just said about the 15, 15, 15. What are some daily or weekly habits you credit your business success?
It's really good. It's a really good question. Showing up regardless. I think that's the main thing. I say that's the habit because it feeds into one another. If you show up every day, it means that you're posting every day. Now, you don't need to. If you want hyper growth, 7 times a week. Not twice a day, you don't need to, but 7 times a week. I built my business with 3 to 4 times a week posting. And it's been absolutely fine. So I would always say, Silvana, that if you're only able to post 3 high quality pieces of content a week, I'd far prefer that than three high quality pieces and four very average last minute pieces. I don't think that makes sense. So I think that, everybody says on LinkedIn, be consistent. But what does consistent actually mean? If you're consistently creating low quality content, you don't want to be consistent. So I think that's really it. I think it's just kind of just the habit is just keeping on showing up every day, studying what's popular. So you've got tools like Clio, tools like Say What. You can see posts that have gone viral. Seeing what's working well for others creates what we call pre-validated content. So if something's gone viral and you can see the idea or even the quote or whatever's gone viral a few times and you're just wanting to grow for that week, you can be using that. So really seeing what's worked well for others and thinking, this is good. What are they missing? And how can I add something on top of that? I think that's incredibly important. And just, being consistent, but being insistent, but consciously so. Being really aware of your consistency. And no matter how bad a post goes, no matter how a DM conversation goes, tomorrow's always another day. But every day, sending DMs, every day, new connections, every day, posting, every day, commenting on people's content. That's the key. Do that every day for 6 months, you cannot fail but grow.
Oh, I love that. Let's dig a little bit more about the consistency and a good quality of post. What would you recommend for a post? What kind of guidelines? Talk about something that is important, but also you mentioned earlier to add action at the end, like a call to action, right? That is probably one of the most important parts of the post because you are looking for something out of each post. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so with regards to posting, so a strong hook is really important. It's becoming quite popular to have two lines stuck together. I don't like it. So have a line, have a space, and then another line. And we're looking at try to keep it less than 8 words, Silvana. And the reason for that is on mobile, it gets cut off. So you can have the best hook in the world, but if 88% of people are looking at it on mobile, there's no point in doing it. So using something like Authored Up, there's lots of different ones. You can preview what the post's going to look like on mobile and on desktop. So that's really important, making sure you've got both lines really clear. Having it well formatted. I just took on a new client, really good bit of content he created, but it was far too bunched together. And my brain immediately went, I'm not reading that because it was just too much. So I say no more than 2 to 3 short sentences bunched together. Now, that's not to say we're writing like song lyrics, and it's not to say that we're cutting sentences in half and just putting it on the next line. I think that's incredibly lazy. We need to work harder. But the social media brain is inherently lazy. Therefore, we need to ensure that we're meeting the needs and the expectations of those reading it, who tend to be lazy, and the best creators write in a very simple way. So, well formatted. Emojis. Use emojis to break up the text, to point things. Use arrows. Keep it succinct. Call to action is really important. Typically, it's going to be for comments, but literally with an emoji, say, let me know in the comments, and then ask your question. Most people, Silvana, make it far too difficult. Make it Mickey Mouse easy. Make it Mickey Mouse easy. Not something that's negative, not something that's difficult to answer, something that everybody can relate to. Then in the comments, my trick is to ask a more difficult question. Because the person or the people who answers in the comments to that question, it's a signal that they're really into you, spending time reading more than just your post, and they're engaging with what you say. Then you can go on, thank them for obviously commenting, get into the DMs, continue that conversation. If they've commented on that post, if the post was hitting a symptom, the reason they've stopped, thought, and contributed is because they likely feel that symptom and it resonates with them. Therefore, would it not be selfish, Silvana, to not jump into the DMs and ask a little bit more about that if they think we might be able to help? Final thing I'd say there, nobody shares a problem with anybody unless they think the problem they're saying it to might be able to help it. So if anybody shares a symptom or a pain point, even better, we need to lean into that. And we are being ignorant, arrogant, and just damn stupid to not look to try and push it towards a call to explore what that would look like to work together to solve that for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So true. Let's talk about your why, Darren. We spoke a little bit earlier about that on your early the early stages of your career, but what is your why today? What keeps you showing up so boldly day after day?
Because I keep on seeing such shit content created. Yeah, I keep on seeing, I suppose a little bit like when I was teaching kids, whether it be in Scotland or in Spain, I keep on seeing people who have got so much potential, but something's holding them back that I'm able to help them with, right? So whether it be the kid in the British school, well, you're a genius, but your English isn't good enough to be able to get it out. You can explain it in Spanish perfectly, but in English, you're not. And it was the same when I was teaching adults in ESL in their jobs. My God, you're so intelligent, but you cannot speak English to get that explained clearly, so people just don't listen to you. And I think that's what it is now. It's this idea of perhaps servitude, certainly helping, but kind of just wanting people who are so damn good at what they do and just wanting to take all the demystification. Because typically, Silvana, if you're not making money on LinkedIn as a coach or a consultant and you're on LinkedIn, you're probably not really making much elsewhere. So there's a limited shelf life to this. And the biggest mistake coaches say are, I do really well on referrals. Yeah, for now. But that's not a sustainable business model, word of mouth. It's just referrals are great for getting social proof, which is amazing. You've got something so many coaches and consultants would kill for, but you won't leverage it out of ignorance. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah, interesting. We love talking about happy habits here because, the name of the podcast is Happiness by Habits. So tell us, what are some personal habits that bring you joy, recharge your energy, or keep you grounded?
I love that. Unfortunately, work's one of them. It's the habit of work. I really, really do like. Being slightly ADHD, I struggle with habits, Silvana. I struggle to build. It's easy to build unhealthy habits, but not as quite as easy to build the more healthy habits, perhaps. So I think going out and running, I at least try to run, 7, 8 kilometers 3 times a week, if not more. Trying to lift weights, I need to be doing that more. It's always in the to-do list. I think these are important. From a sanity perspective, habits-wise, I'm a big fan of football. So I've got my 2 football teams, Celtic
Of
in
course you are.
Scotland. Celtic in Scotland and Rayo Vallecano in Madrid. So I go see them. I've got my friends. So I think it's important to have that split. And contrary to even what I was really saying earlier about the weekend and working through it, it is important to have those moments and that time together. I think as an entrepreneur, there are seasons where we do have to work 3 weekends, and that's fine, but it's unsustainable to do it the whole time. So habits-wise, I think it is. I think it's about circles around, loved ones, friends, family, exercise, and just getting into that habit of having a structured day. It's the 15 DMs before the first coffee in the morning. That's a really good way to get DMs done if you don't like doing DMs. It's almost giving yourself that little,
yes, that's a good one.
yeah, giving yourself that little reward for getting something that we don't necessarily want to do done.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about
Yeah,
you? I'm
that's
curious about what would your habits be, Silvana?
I have all kinds of, but let's talk about my morning habits. In the morning, when I wake up, as I like to hear some meditation in the morning while I do something else, perhaps while I shower or while I do a little bit of a workout. I have, so I like to do those things in the morning, and then I get ready the kids, and then I love to either go for a walk or look at my calendar for the day and just make sure I am set up for success and have everything aligned for the day. But in the morning, I love to work out a little bit, do a little bit of meditation, and have a healthy breakfast. Also, that's important.
Interesting. I need to borrow some of your routines. I'm kind of almost get up. I don't even have a coffee now, as I said, get things done.
Or
It's almost
coffee
the
for
get
sure.
up, shower, work. It's almost straight into it. And for me, I think without a proper routine with habits, I find it very difficult and I need to really work on it, Silvana. Because what you said to me makes perfect sense. I love that in theory. Whenever I've tried it, perhaps I've just not done it enough times to turn it into a habit. Whenever I've tried it, it's kind of like before I know it, it's 3:30 in the afternoon and in the morning it's completely gone. So I think that's why I just jump straight into work, but I don't think it's necessarily the most healthy of habits.
Yeah, I hear you. One of the things I do also is I use AI a lot to help me go through my day more in a more optimized way. And that brings me to another question, Darren. Are you using AI at all?
Yes, absolutely. I'm using AI. As I think you know, yeah, I am using AI.
Everybody is using AI. What do you do? What do you use AI for? Can you share some of the
Name
tools that you're
something.
using?
Name something, and I'll tell you if I'm using it for AI.
Your DMs, your morning DMs, LinkedIn. Let's talk about LinkedIn
Yeah, let's
and
talk about
AI.
LinkedIn. So personally, no, I don't for DMs or anything like that. I've been doing this for long enough that I really don't need to. I do build bots and GPTs though for clients to help them think of the best. So it's essentially trained with the structure that I teach my clients to be going through, alternating what and why questions, and we get some really good results from that. So I build from the client side. I use GPTs custom built for DMs for content pillars because sometimes the big problem is people don't have content pillars. They think they do, but they really don't. So it'll really go through their interest, their business, their pain points, their clients, how they work, what they do, and it'll basically suggest the content pillars that they should be using and justify it. For content creation, feeding in a bit of content, and it'll help to format it a little bit more aesthetically for the eye. For going through and actually putting in content, and it'll evaluate and feedback how best to do it. I use AI for DM trainings as well. So there's a GPT bot, and it simulates a conversation with you. You've got easy, medium, or hard settings. You select which one it is, and the aim is to basically try to get it to agree to a call with you. It's trained with a few different sales methodologies that I really like. So you've got to be good to get through it. I used to use Midjourney a lot for AI image generation for content, ideogram as well. Since ChatGPT's image works becomes so good, I've started using that a lot more. I'll use it to help me build carousels. I'll put in all my ideas, but I'll do text to speech. So I'll just record what I want to say or just speak it. It'll transcribe it into text. I'll then get ChatGPT to organize it, put it into gamma.app. It'll turn it into a PDF that I upload as a carousel. From that, then building out playbooks. There's so many different. I'm just
Oh my
thinking
God,
here. It's like,
yes,
geez,
absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of the tools that are most useful, and definitely nowadays is crucial to incorporate these tools to make our life easier. So yeah, there is so much potential for the things that we can do with AI.
so much. I think the one thing as well, and I'm really quite hard on this one, most people still are using it to about a 1% of its potential. I think because it is so chatty and so human-like, it is so easy to think that we don't need to learn it. And I think so many people as well kind of roll their eyes when there's guides to prompting and things like this. But people seem to think ChatGPT is a mind reader. So especially in ChatGPT 3.5, even ChatGPT 4, people would say, oh, it's not that good because you've not prompted it well enough. So I think that if we can just always be cognizant of the strategies and prompting, we're able to create and to get even better things. But as always, it's a case of, it's never stealing or borrowing it. It's using AI as a starting block, as a foundation to really build us and what we do upon it. But it's incredible. Things like taking a podcast, taking the transcription, throwing it into a well-structured prompt, and then getting a LinkedIn post, a YouTube description. I mean, there's so many ways. And I think as well, Silvana, for coaches, solopreneurs, even entrepreneurs as well, but especially coaches and consultants, this is a trick that if they're missing, they're really missing. Because when I started, you'd have to be paying $10,000-$20,000 a month to do what AI does for $20 a month, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like educate yourselves, learn yourselves, as you clearly do, and you use so much for it. It's an incredible thing. Sorry, again, I'm very quite evangelical.
I love it. Yeah, this is a really amazing topic that we can talk about for hours probably. But yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, and I think it will be in the best interest of most people to take advantage of all the tools that are available because of AI, because they can actually help us free more time to do the things that we love and take care of the boring stuff and repetitive tasks.
And it's so much more than ChatGPT. If you think
For
AI is
sure.
ChatGPT, you've not scratched the surface. That's just a chatbot. And I tell you what, The O3 version's very good, but the Gemini 2.5 Pro experimental, I'm seeing things out of this that I've never seen out of ChatGPT. So we're so lucky to have such a plethora of things. But a little bit like everyone used to be, Silvana, 5 years ago, having a LinkedIn banner, done on Canva professionally, that was something that was really set you apart. Whereas now, that's just the entry point. And I think it's the same for AI. Just being able to use ChatGPT, okay, is the entry point to actually pushing forward and being able to use it constructively for your business. But you've got to learn. It's just like LinkedIn strategy, converting clients, prospects into clients. It's a learning curve. And it's something that why I feel most coaches and consultants end up broke and end up not being able to have their own business. They don't want to learn. And it does come into putting in that hour a day learning. Just dedicate an hour a day to learning something, whether it be AI or ChatGPT or LinkedIn strategy or sales, an hour a day. Find it. Get up an hour earlier if you have to. Go to bed an hour later. We do have to sacrifice, but that compounds back to your point. 30 hours of learning a month. Was it 360 hours of learning a year? What can you do in that time?
That's absolutely amazing. Yes. And Darren, for someone listening who feels stuck, maybe posting but not seeing results, what is one simple shift they could make today to start moving in the right direction?
What a question. What a question. I don't know if it's just one. Look at what others in your space are doing. Again, LinkedIn's far more than just posting. If you're just posting, you're going to get nowhere. As I said, going back to prospects and distributors, find them. So if you're in the, if you're in the leadership space or if you're in the executive coaches space, find somebody who's a massive influencer, 150,000, 200,000 plus followers. Somebody with like a Justin Welsh, for example, who, to be fair, does respond to a lot of his comments. Maybe an Alex Hormozy. Go on to their posts. What are they doing that's getting the most engagement? Look at all their posts. Which ones are getting the most? You can use so many tools to find this out. I mentioned Clio. Say what? You can just search by Clio. You can just search by name, and I'll just give you all their posts. What are the things? Here's a one. Alex Hormozy's top 10 posts. Age 23, quit job. 24, set up gym. 25, bought 3 more. 24, lost anything. 25, 6, lost everything. 27, learned sales. Just a list of what you did of your accomplishments, showing failure, vulnerability, what you did, where you learned, and where you are. Just do that. That post does really well. So try it out. But it might bomb? Okay, fine. Try out what are other people doing that works because it's pre-validated. Other than that, it's a case of look at the way that you're structuring it. That's the problem with my new client. Great post, great image, badly structured. The image you put on is a billboard quote, but it was too dark. It was a bright street in Thailand in the middle of a day with a black billboard with white text. Now that looks to the average eye really nice, but it's just knowing about it is like, well, try the same, mix it up though, and put the same street in the dark with a backlit billboard. Now it's shining. So people are going to find the message amongst the chaos. That's where it is. Format the text. I guarantee he reposts this. I'm going to get him to repost it in 2 months' time. It'll do incredibly well. So find out what others are doing that are successful. Be putting, as I said, 15, 15, 15. If you're not doing the following, you can't cry LinkedIn doesn't work. 15 new connections a day, combination of prospects and distributors. 15 comments a day on comments and distributors, the right people. 15 new connections a day. DMs, comments, connections. That's all you need. As I said to you, the maths is 300 a month. Jesus, that is growth. That is growth. Just simple connecting is growth, coupled with that conversations. And then even if you're not winning those conversations, you're not closing them, you probably do need to refine your strategy, because if it was this easy, everybody would win. But at least you're hearing objections. At least you're seeing where people are ghosting you. At least you're seeing what problems people have. You're building this all up and you're just getting real feel. Some of your best content comes out of the DMs. So get in DMs.
DMs is the thing.
Yeah.
Darren, let's finish up with a call to action, being honoring your techniques and your framework. What would you like our listeners to be their call to action for today's podcast?
Call to action is rather than just believing in yourself, just get it done. Just do it. Get it done. Take on board what I've said today. If you want to know more, clearly I'm a nerd for this, so give me a follow. My name is Darren Gibb on LinkedIn, Darren, surname Gibb. That is myself. Follow me on LinkedIn. I've got darrengibb.com as well, where you can sign up to my newsletter, where if you like no nonsense, no bullshit, straight to the point strategy, you'll probably quite like my newsletter, a little bit at least. But that's really it. And feel free, send me a DM. I'd love to have a DM. Just DM me the word Silvana, habits, and I'll have a nice wee conversation with you. I'm not going to look to sell you anything. But yeah, that's it. Nothing here to sell. These opportunities come from everything, Silvana. This is the first seed for most people. Let's see if we can water that seed. If not, no problem. Hopefully people have taken away some actionable advice. If they're still listening and haven't been repelled, if they have, sorry, I do apologize, Silvana. And if not, we can see where we can go. But yes, connect on LinkedIn would be great, and darrengibb.com.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to put your LinkedIn link here on the show notes. Thank you so much for bringing your direct, empowering energy to Happiness by Habit today. You are living proof that the right strategy and resilience can bring amazing results. I really appreciate it, and I truly enjoyed this conversation today. For everyone listening, if you want to seriously step up your game on LinkedIn, build real influence, and start closing clients without the nonsense, be sure to connect with Darren on LinkedIn. It was a pleasure to be here with you, and this is Happiness by Habit. Until next time, keep creating momentum and building a life and business you dream about. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.